Two women pull into the same school pickup line every single afternoon in the same 10-minute window at the same faded yellow curb. One drives a minivan with almost 140,000 miles on it, a coffee stain shaped like Ohio on the passenger seat, and a check engine light that used to blink for 2 straight years until she finally saved up and fixed the actual sensor instead of just taping over the warning. The other pulls in late, always a little late, in a brand new SUV with the dealer's paper plates still taped in the back window, seat warmers running in September because she can. If you had to guess which family has $40,000 sitting quietly in savings, and which one is a single missed paycheck away from a phone call from collections, you would probably guess wrong. That's not an accident. That's the whole design. I'm Alora. Before I ever built a real emergency fund, I leased a car for 3 years that I genuinely could not afford because it made me feel like a woman who had her life together in a parking lot full of moms I didn't even know yet. I remember the exact night things shifted, sitting at my kitchen table around midnight, calculator in one hand, a half-finished spreadsheet in the other, trying to figure out why we were always 11 days from broke no matter how much I thought I understood money. I felt embarrassed, honestly, like I was the only mother in that pickup line who hadn't figured this out yet. That night is actually why this channel exists. I went looking afterward for someone talking about money the way my life actually looked. Kid on my hip, dinner half made, no time for a 40-minute lecture about index funds. And I couldn't really find her. So somewhere between spreadsheets and sleep training, I decided to become that person myself. I started calling it raising kids and retirement funds because most days that's genuinely the whole job. If any part of that midnight kitchen table feeling sounds familiar, I'd really love for you to hit subscribe and stay with me on this. My honest goal is to reach as many moms as I possibly can with this, because I know exactly how isolating that math can feel at midnight, alone, thinking you're behind everyone else. You're not. And every single person who subscribes genuinely helps me keep doing this for more moms who need it. So with that said, today I want to walk you through the quiet signs that actually separate the moms who are building real wealth from the moms who are just renting the appearance of it. Not the obvious stuff, the tells hiding in plain sight at pickup, at birthday parties, in the snack drawer, in the closet. Some of these will surprise you, a few might sting a little. Stay with me anyway, because on the other side of this list is a version of financially steady that has nothing to do with how anything looks. Sign 1. The car in the driveway. Here's the plain truth first. The newer the car, the less it usually tells you about what's in the bank account, and often it tells you the opposite of what you'd assume. Picture the carpool line again. The mom in the paid-off minivan isn't thinking about her car payment on the drive home because there isn't one. The mom in the leased SUV is doing quiet math at every red light because $687 comes out of her account on the 4th of the month, whether the transmission's fine or not. Here's the stake in real numbers. A new SUV lease at roughly $650 a month over 5 years is close to $39,000 spent on a car she will never own a single piece of. A paid-off minivan bought used for $14,000 6 years ago, driven into the ground, costs basically nothing now except gas and the occasional brake job. That's a $25,000 gap sitting right there in a school parking lot, invisible to everyone watching. I leased that SUV. I remember sitting in the dealership, holding my newborn's car seat, telling myself I deserved something that felt safe and nice after the year I'd had. What I actually bought was a monthly bill I resented by month 8 and couldn't get out of until month 36. This week, if you're financing a car, pull up the exact payoff amount and just look at it, not to panic, just to know. You can't make a calm decision about something you're afraid to look at. Sign 2. What's actually in the snack drawer? The habit is simple. How a family feeds itself day to day says more about their money than almost anything else, and it has nothing to do with how tidy the pantry looks on camera. Picture two kitchens at 3:15 on a Tuesday. In one, there's a bin of snacks bought in bulk on Sunday, portioned into little bags, boring and cheap and completely reliable. In the other, there's a drawer that's always empty because the plan every day is whatever pops up on a delivery app between 3 and 4, ordered from a phone, arriving in 15 minutes. Run the numbers with me. Bulk snacks for a family of 4 run maybe $45 a week if you're buying real food and portioning it yourself. Daily app-ordered snacks and small convenience runs, even at $12 to $18 a pop, land somewhere around $70 to $90 a week once you're honest about the frequency. That's a difference of over $2,000 a year, spent on convenience instead of a plan. And it never shows up as one big scary number. It just leaks. I lived in that second kitchen for almost 2 years after my son was born, because planning felt like one more job I didn't have room for. It wasn't until I actually wrote down what a month of delivery snacks cost that I understood I wasn't paying for convenience. I was paying to avoid 15 minutes of Sunday planning. Your step this week: pick one day, just one, and write down every single dollar that goes toward feeding your family. Not to judge it, just to see it clearly, the way it actually is. Sign 3. The birthday party. The plain version of this one. The size of a birthday party has almost nothing to do with how much a family loves their kid, and almost everything to do with what they think other parents are watching for. Picture the bounce house in the driveway, the professional photographer crouched in the grass, the custom balloon arch that took 2 hours to build for a 6-year-old who will forget most of it by September. Now, picture a backyard, a hose, a cake from the grocery store, and 8 kids who do not once mention the lack of a photo booth. The real math: a mid-size, impressive party for one child, the kind built for an audience of other parents, commonly runs $800 to $1,500 once you count the entertainment, the decor, and the food. A hose and cake backyard party runs closer to $120. Multiply that gap by every birthday, every kid, every year, and you're looking at tens of thousands of dollars over a childhood spent almost entirely on an audience of adults who forget the party by Monday. I threw one of those bigger parties for my daughter's 4th birthday, and I remember standing in my kitchen afterward, exhausted, with a stack of rental invoices, watching her play happily with the box the bounce house came in. She didn't need any of it. I did, or at least I thought I did. This week, before you book anything for the next birthday on your calendar, ask one honest question. Am I building this for my kid or for the parents I'm inviting? Before we go further, I want to say something plain. If any of this is landing, if you're recognizing yourself in one of these signs, that's not a moment for shame. It's information. That's genuinely the only reason I make these videos, to hand you the piece of paper I wish someone had handed me. Okay, let's keep going. Sign 4, the kid's closet. Here's the habit in plain language. Where a family's kids' clothes come from is one of the clearest, quietest signals of financial pace there is. Picture one closet where half the outfits still have the original tags cut off just last week, bought new because it was easier than digging through a bin, worn 4 times before the next growth spurt. Picture another closet, same size family, where 2/3 of the clothes came from a consignment sale, a cousin's hand-me-down bag, or a resale app, and nobody outside that house could tell the difference by looking at either kid. The numbers. Outfitting one growing child in mostly new clothes commonly runs $600 to $900 a year. The same wardrobe, sourced mostly secondhand and rotated through siblings or friends, often lands under $150. Across 3 kids and a decade of growth spurts, that's a difference that can quietly fund an entire summer of childcare or a meaningful chunk of a retirement account. I used to feel a strange flush of embarrassment buying secondhand for my kids, like it said something about us. It took me a long time to realize the opposite was true. The families I know who are actually financially steady are, more often than not, the ones least interested in what their kid's tag says. Your move this week. Before your next new clothes trip, check one consignment shop or resale app first. Just once. See what's actually there. Sign 5. How she answers, how do you afford that? The plain habit. Watch what a person does when someone asks how they paid for something. It tells you almost everything. Picture the conversation at pickup. Someone asks how a family managed a trip to the beach this summer. One mom gets a little cagey, changes the subject fast, mentions a payment plan under her breath. Another mom answers plainly, "We've been putting $150 a month into a travel account since January, so by June it was already paid for. No performance, no defensiveness, just a fact." Here's why that gap matters. $150 a month for 6 months is $900, enough for a modest but real family trip, paid for in cash, with zero interest and zero anxiety attached to the credit card statement afterward. The family financing the same trip on a card at 22% interest, paid off over a year, ends up paying closer to $1,100 for the exact same week at the beach, plus the quiet stress of a bill that outlives the vacation. I used to dodge that question myself because the honest answer for years was, we probably shouldn't have. Learning to answer plainly, even when the plain answer was a budget line item instead of a splurge, was one of the calmest shifts I've ever made in how I talk about money in front of my kids. This week, try answering one money question about yourself with total plainness. No joke, no deflection. Just the real number or the real plan behind it. Sign 6. What's parked behind the closed door? Plain version, the debt nobody sees is usually the whole story, and it rarely matches the image parked in the driveway. Picture the garage of the house with the newest everything. Behind that door might be $40,000 in combined car loans, a maxed line of credit, and a mortgage refinanced twice to cover gaps. Now picture the modest house 2 streets over, older siding, 1 car, and behind that door, a fully funded emergency account and a paid-off vehicle nobody's ever complimented at pickup. Run it out over 10 years. A household carrying $40,000 in consumer debt at an average 18% blended interest rate can pay well over $50,000 across a decade just in interest, money that produces nothing, builds nothing, and disappears the moment it's spent. A household with no consumer debt, investing that same interest amount instead at a modest 7% return, can turn it into real 6-figure growth in the same window. That's not a small gap. That's the difference between 2 entirely different futures, hidden behind 2 ordinary-looking front doors. For a few years, our garage held more debt than our house was worth in equity, and from the outside, we looked completely fine. Nobody at school pickup could have guessed. Getting honest with myself about that gap, on paper, in real numbers, was the single most uncomfortable and most useful afternoon I've spent on our finances. This week, write down every single debt your family carries in one place, with its interest rate next to it. Not to spiral, just so it's real, on paper, where you can actually deal with it. Sign 7. The Sunday night routine. The plain habit. Financially steady families tend to have a repeating ritual around money, and financially strained families tend to have a reaction instead of a ritual. Picture a kitchen table on Sunday night. One family spends 15 quiet minutes looking at the week ahead, moving a little cash into the categories that need it, checking what's due before Friday. Down the street, another family only opens the banking app when something bounces, in a moment of adrenaline and dread, trying to solve a problem that's already arrived instead of one that hasn't yet. The math on this one isn't really about dollars, it's about outcomes. Families who review their money on a set schedule catch small problems, a forgotten subscription, a bill about to double, while they're still $20 problems. Families who only look when something's wrong tend to catch those same issues once they've become $200 or $2,000 problems, with a late fee or an overdraft charge stacked on top. Our Sunday routine started small, 10 minutes at the kitchen table after the kids were in bed, mostly because I was tired of Monday morning surprises. Years later, it's still 10 minutes, and it's the calmest 10 minutes of our week, not the most stressful. Your step this week. Pick one recurring 15-minute slot any day, anytime, and just look at your money. Once, on purpose, before anything's on fire. So here's the truth underneath every single one of these signs. None of them are really about cars or snacks or birthday parties or closets. They're about the same quiet decision, made over and over, in 100 small, ordinary moments a real family actually lives in. The two moms in that pickup line aren't separated by luck or income or even how much they love their kids. They're separated by which one of them has quietly decided that steady matters more than impressive. That's the whole philosophy underneath all of it. Not one big dramatic money move, just the daily choice to build something real, even when nobody in that parking lot is watching closely enough to notice. If this helped you feel a little less alone in that pickup line, I'm Alora, the finance mom, and I genuinely love it if you'd subscribe and stick around. I'm doing this every week for moms building something real, and I'd love for you to be part of it.